change is required at all times. If you're not comfortable with the change, especially within this fast changing environment, soon or later you'll be kicked out of business. One of the biggest traits and one of the greatest secrets that every businessman, every reader, every pastor, every business leader, every politician needs to understand within this time is that there is need to change and change wisely, otherwise you'll be out of business. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time in here, we encourage you to hit the subscriber button and tell us where you are watching us, and so that we can be able to continue building this community. Remember, when you share and like, we shall help us to be able to continue making content that will be helpful to you and even for the generations to come. My name is John Kimani. Today we continue with the discussion that we are having today. And the discussion that we are having is very simple. We are simply want to discuss the 10, what we are calling the 10 traits of what we call a change agent. The 10 traits of a successful change agent. It is very, very important for us to be able to understand that a change agent is that somebody who actually initiates change. The changes that he or she might be initiating may not be necessarily his own. He may be hired by an organization to effect them or to implement them, or he might be the CEO or the owner of the company, and so feels the need to do that change. Now, why are we talking about a successful change agent? We're talking about success. That is very important because there is a lot of things that are done to make changes but that are not successful. If you look especially at politicians who promise a lot of changes once they step into power, some of the changes that they promise, they actually become their own undoing. They actually make them unpopular, and the next time when they offer them their leadership, they are not taken in. Why? Because people don't view them as serious as they thought, because the changes that they effected actually turned up to be a big time mess into their lives. Now, let us ask ourselves, what are some of those traits that that needs to be part and parcel of any change agent? We need to realize, even before we get into that list, that if you want to continue leading, then you must keep on changing. If you want to keep on leading, you must keep on changing. And so a change agent needs to be, number one, to be a delegator, not somebody who takes everything and dies with everything. No, he needs to delegate. He needs to delegate his powers. He needs to delegate decisions. He needs to delegate his task. Because delegation is powerful in the sense that it gives ownership. Now again, it helps you also to have a more focus on what needs to be done. Among those people that are successful in this space are good in delegation. A good example is Richard Branson. He has the ability to delegate. We need to understand what is it that we need to delegate, what do you need to delegate, and what not to delegate. Okay, so understand the difference between what needs to be delegated and what doesn't need to be delegated. What do you need to delegate? You need to delegate anything that actually is you're not able to do well. You don't need to do things, you need to move out of your shelf, out of your desk, anything that does not give you the highest return. But again, you don't need to delegate things that you are accountable for. If it's a responsibility that your boss will ask you a question, something that you are directly answerable to, then please don't delegate. That is trait number one. Trait number two is you need to be a decisive person. The reason why they hire you is to make decisions. The day they shall fire you is because of making or being unable to make decisions. Now, leaders find themselves making tough decisions that will make you unpopular. But then again, these are the decisions that are right decisions that will be able to make to take the organization to the next level. it is not only making decisions, but then it also has to do, a change agent needs to take responsibility for those decisions. You need to say, yes, it is me who made this decision, and so I am ready and responsible to take the full brunt of the decision that I make. But again, even before you make the decision, you need to carefully weigh the options. You need to look at the opinions. You need to understand the pros and the cons of the decisions you are about to make. Remember, choices have consequences. You know, decisions that you need to make are decisions that will ensure that the organization is moving to the next level, that the decision that you're making is going to open up opportunities, that the decision that you're about to make is going to have a positive impact. Otherwise, when you're unable to make decisions, what you do is that the organization become paralyzed. It doesn't move. There's a lot of what we call labor turnover. People start leaving, morale go down, sales go down, and that leads eventually to the winding up of a company or winding up of an organization. And you do not want to invite such a thing. Number 3 is that a change agent is always a dependable person. This is somebody who can be relied upon, somebody that people can look upon. You do not need to make a decision today. You do not want to introduce today, only for you tomorrow to shy away and fail to admit, or again you initiate change, then you lack what we call a follow-through ability. You know, a change agent is somebody who follows through to ensure that the change that has been agreed upon is implemented within the timelines that have been agreed on, that the desired change, the desired outcome is being seen. And a leader who is not dependable cannot be able to follow through. You know, it means that a dependable leader has got the discipline, you know, to show up for meeting on time. You know that is very, very important. And even more important is somebody who is reliable. Is not somebody who just learns things aimlessly, no, but is somebody who looks at the mirror and says, here I am, this is where we are, and this is where we need to be. And it again, because it's reliable and dependable, is somebody when things go wrong is able to sit down and ask him or herself, what is it that we need to do? What are the options? Now that we're in the ditch, what is it that we need to do very quickly in a very professional way without hurting people so that we get out of this ditch? Okay, very, very important. Okay, when we fail, when we have a change agent who is not dependable and reliable, what we find ourselves is paralysis. And paralysis is a momentum breaker. It is something that actually discourages both customers and actually discourages all the potential stakeholders. Any person who actually thought of coming and investing in your company will not come, because you are unable to make the right decision, because you are unable. We must be leaders who finishes that which we start. Number 4, very, very important. Was it yes, number 4, we need to be adaptable. Sometimes within, because change agent has a procedure, there is a process, and it is one step leads to another. But sometimes there are times when the anticipated happens. Things that we do not anticipate comes. Interruptions, annoyances, irritations that shows up. It is at that time that the leader needs to ask himself or herself, now that this have cropped up, what do we need to do? You need to have the agility. You need to have that ability to change direction when the wind asks us to do. One of the things we learn about the antelope is that, of course, the cheetah is faster than the antelope. But one of the things in which the antelope is able to do when running away from a cheetah is the ability to turn. Is able to take a swift turn. Within a very limited speed, a very limited space, something that the cheetah is not unable to do. And so that flexibility is very, very important. And as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as a leader, we need to be flexible. We need to know when to stop, when we need to amend our plans, when we need to adjust our timelines, when we need to adjust our modus operandi so that we remain relevant. Remember, the moment when you fail to become relevant within this space, you're going to be obsolete, and people, customers will run away from you, and you're going to be registering huge losses within no time. And then number 5, a good team leader who, a good change agent who desires to implement changes very quickly, then needs to be somebody who empowers the team. That means you do not want people to stay within with no information. You need to equip people with the know-how, with the skills on how they are going to handle the change. You know, a team that is not empowered will not be able to implement the changes. Remember, as a change agent, you need to empower your people so that they are able to carry the load effectively, so that they are able to carry the load to the completion, so that the people are able to know we are at this step. They need to be empowered to understand, number one, why are we changing? What are the perceived benefits of this change? Who will be affected by these changes, and how can they be able to mitigate these changes, and why do they need to go through this discomfort? What are the benefits? That is very, very important. Remember, when you empower the leader, you know, you encourage, or the power of buy-in goes up, the power of ownership goes up. People are able to stick even when there are problems, because they are empowered, because they have been equipped. They are able to stick around. Number 6, very important. A change agent need to be a 3C leader. You know, it needs to be a 3C leader. And when we talk about being a 3C leader, we talk about the ability to communicate, the ability to collaborate, the ability to commit, the ability to communicate, the ability to collaborate, the ability to commit. Communicating has to do with saying what and why. As a change agent, you must always communicate, whether in the initial meeting, whether in the middle, whether at the end of the change process. You must always, in your communication, remind people of what are we doing and why are we doing it. When you miss the what and why aspect, then then things will not go well. You know, and you know, when you use the what and why, it makes it simple. It makes your message logical, and actually reduces rebellion. One article called 3 Keys of Helping Your Employees Succeed with the Change by Reed Deschner actually says, when you communicate with what and why, the people will be able to adapt, will be able to sway in and join, and they will make it happen. Okay, this is why Nehemiah explained to the people why he is doing it and what he is going to do. When we talk about collaboration, we are saying that you need to bring key persons. Not everybody needs to be in the change process. Much as we are saying you need to share information to everybody, but again, we are saying you need to collaborate. You need to bring a team of people, number one, who have the goodwill, people who are, we call the key influencers, people with the capacity, people with the goodwill, people that will be able to run and make whatever that you want to be changed happen very quickly. And then, very important, you may communicate well, you may have the key influencers, but then when you miss the third key ingredient, and that is commitment. That is the ability, the willingness to stick around until the change is implemented. You do not want to have a person who is there today, but when there is heat, he runs away and exit. You know, you need people that are willing to step outside their comfort zone and ensure that the change occurs, no matter the pressure, no matter the problem. You need to have men and women who are resilient, men and women who are persistent, because that's the only way that you can be able to implement change. So we are saying a good change agent is good in communication, is also good in collaboration, but again, very important, is able to commit himself. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time being here, we encourage you to hit the subscriber button so that every time when we upload a new video, YouTube will be able to notify you. You know, and we are continuing to learn 10 traits of a change of a change agent. Very, very important. And please drop us a line and tell us what is it that you're learning from this discussion. Number 7, a good change agent needs to be a supporter. You do not want to hire opposition camp. No, you know, a supporter is somebody who is very brave, who knows the barriers and actually removes them. And some of the barriers that you're talking about are personal. You know, you do not want to have an environment where people are wounded and people are feeling a source of loss. You need also to remove the professional ones, you know, time and resources. You also need to remove the barriers of legal. You remember when the Kenyan government was introducing the SGR, there was a lot of barriers that were along. You know, you remember the many legal battles that they had to contest. You know, the fear, especially from the transport companies. They felt we are going to be out of the business. And one of the things that needs to be done is that a supportive environment ensures that the change agent is able to navigate those through hurdles and to do it very, very carefree. I mean, very, very successfully. You know, it has everything to do for you to create a supportive environment. It has everything to do with how you communicate. Remember, we say in communication is not what you say, but rather how you say it. Now, for example, talk about maybe you need to ask people to take unpaid leave simply because maybe your losses are too high, and so you need to agree. We need to take maybe like 4 or 5 or maybe a 6 month unpaid leave. You know, for you to be able to get a buy-in so that you can implement this change, it is on how you communicate. If you communicate it with arrogance, you know, we don't care, you need to leave, then everybody will not leave and they're going to plan a strike. And part of why there's a lot of strikes around this space is because our leaders are not able to communicate with empathy, with understanding, with care. The way they communicate is full of arrogance. Okay, very, very important. So a change agent, we are saying here, is that he is a supporter and he creates a supportive environment and he communicates with empathy, with love, with understanding. Very, very important. Number 8, a change agent is an influential person. This is somebody with a swaying power. Now you might ask us, but John, what happens when I don't have the swaying power? That's why it is very important for you to be able to look for somebody who is going to become your chief campaigner, who people believes in. You see, a key influencer is somebody, once they say something, everybody says, so as long as so and so have said it, then it is. That's why you see companies would hire what we call brand ambassadors. You know, a brand ambassador is somebody who goes around, you know, saying this product is good. You can imagine if a certain company decides to pick upon maybe an influential guy, say like Kipchoge Keino, the world marathon record holder, or maybe would take somebody like who, like these gospel musicians. The name that is coming to me is like Paul Mwai, you know, among others. Or you'd even want to think about a big politician, say like a governor somewhere. Maybe the name that comes is who? We can talk about Kalonzo Musyoka. We can talk about these names because these are key influential figures. If any of those influential person would endorse your product, then you can imagine that the change that you want to implement will go through. It will have a larger buy-in. The weight of buy-in will be bigger. Why? Because the key influencer is able to sway a lot of people. There are people who believe in him, and once he says this is the direction that we need to do, is this. And that's why maybe during electioneering period, you will see politicians aligning themselves with the politicians that have influential power. Otherwise, once they align themselves with less known politicians, then of course nobody will hear them, nobody will vote them in. Then finally, and number 9, which is also very important, a change agent needs to be credible. You do not want a situation where you are clever or you are con man. A change agent needs to be somebody who is accountable, who is responsible, somebody that will be able to say things have gone wrong, I admit I asked for mistakes, somebody that is able to say the truth upfront, and somebody who is willing to admit mistakes when things go wrong. Somebody who actually, because he is credible, somebody who is able to stand and even appreciate the dissenting opinions. Not somebody that goes out crashing those who dissent against them. If this is somebody, because he's credible, somebody that is willing to own up when things go wrong. And then finally, very, very important, the marks of a change agent. Number 10 is that he needs to be a learner. Implementing change is like walking in dark. You do not know the next step. You only know what is going to happen after you make that step. And even if when we are able to see, we are only able to see very just a very short distance. And so it's about of learning. It's about asking questions and reasoning to the answers. Somebody who is goes out there and asks for formal and informal feedback, because the feedback that you receive, whether formally or informally, will be able to help you to when to make an adjustment, whether to accelerate, whether to stop, whether to go back to the drawing board, because that is very, very important. You see, a learning attitude, when you have a learning mode, when you are a learner, you do not stick, you don't get stuck. That is what we wanted to say. You don't get stuck to the confines of the changes. You are able to borrow, and you are able to make good changes. You need to have a lifelong curiosity, running and learning, so that you are able to make the changes that you need. This is Marketplace Media, an online platform that engages, equips, and encourages believers to say inawezekana. If this is your first time watching us, we want to ask you to subscribe and like and comment and share this broadcast. Thanks so much for watching. Today we were learning 10 traits of a successful change agent. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, we